Committee meeting. And with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Remberto Rodriguez for brief opening remarks, and then turn it over to the board members for opening remarks.
Actually, this is awesome because we're among friends here, and so I just stopped by. I won't have to I'll move on in a second, but just thank you for doing this. We were talking earlier with our amazing folks that are doing this feed with us, that sometimes it is in small conversations where you get the most out of a meeting and the most information. Plus, I also mentioned to them that we have the star of small business efforts in Montgomery County with Daniel Koroma here. He knows this tremendously well, and so I just did want to thank our board members for coming out and leading the charge on this, and turn it over to you guys.
My name is Murugeta Altoselase. I'm here like 4.5 years. Now I'm chairing, the Economic and Business Development Committee. So thanks God I have now a replacement guy. I'm getting old now. So thanks Daniel Koroma. He's always initiating us. He's encouraging us, to do this kind of events, and we make it so colorful. I'll leave the forum for him. Next is my colleague. She will introduce herself.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. My name is Sophia Bushman. I'm a new member for SilverSpringConnect.
Can we give her a big hand for that, please?
So I look forward to this interesting journey of this committee. New to this, but hey, ready for the challenge.
Well, thank you. Again, Sophia, thank you so much for agreeing to serve. As many people know, the Citizens Advisory Board play a critical role in county government. You guys are in the front line together with folks like me, and we inform the county government on in terms of things that do impact, and specifically this community, the business community. So my vision in working with this committee is going to be how do we make sure that we inform the community about the wealth of information, and information ranging from, in terms of resources, which I'll talk about, but also in terms of data. Many people don't realize this, that there's so much data that's within the county government that is accessible to businesses, and it helps you improve your business practices, processes, or even, just your business model. And many times it's hard for people to know where this information, reside. And so, really, as I said, my number one aim in being part of this committee is to ensure that we get the word out, so that businesses, we don't want any business to fail because of lack of information or resources or capital which we have access to. And so I'm really going to rely on all of you to work together with me. But regardless of that, I'll say that we're all ambassadors. So wherever you are, I believe, and that's why most of the things I'm going to be talking about will be online, which means that it's shareable, it's accessible, and you can basically share whatever we have. So that being said, I know contacts are very important because that's the number one way you connect. And so my contact information, I'm part of the Business Solutions Group, which is part of the Office of Business Services in the County Executive's Office. And it is 3 of us right now, and that will change very soon. Again, my contact is there. As you see, Daniel Koroma, Business Liaison Officer. You can easily send me an email, and I'm accessible through email, but also you can call the office. I'm not usually in the office all the time. However, I am accessible through my mobile phone. So if you send me an email, if I respond, you get my mobile number. Or if you call the office, I usually try to respond at a minimum 24 hours. But again, my colleagues are here as well. Julie Stevenson as well is a colleague of mine. She is also very responsive. My other colleague, Devance Walker, is actually retiring. So we're looking to pretty soon bring somebody on board that will work with the business community. So it's 3 of us that are part of the Business Solutions Group, and we work with businesses all over the county. What does that mean? We have approximately 68,980 businesses that are within our portfolio that we work with. And that does not include those who are in the planning process of starting a business, or they're in the starting up phase, the startup phase of a business. This is just businesses who they call us because they need to figure out what licenses they need to operate in the county, or what permits they need for specific tasks or projects they're looking to get into. All right, so just telling you what the office was created by the county executive. Of course, that's who we work for, County Executive Mark Elridge. And his vision was that we need to make sure we bring business support services closer to the businesses, which is closer to where they are in the regional service centers. As you know, many of our regional service centers are hubs. They're not only service centers for social services, but like this building we're in is almost, this is a community center. You come here any day of the week, there's something happening in this building. And so by us being closer to the businesses, it gives us the ability to, first of all, connect with those businesses. But then second of all, building relationships, which is so critical when somebody is starting a business or when somebody is operating a business. Those relationships allows those business owners to feel comfortable coming to us. And which, as many of you know, is usually not easy because why? First of all, they're busy running their businesses. But then second, we're government, right? So usually many of the businesses, their interaction with government is when they're paying their taxes or when they're paying a fee or fine. And so we want to change that narrative. Our county executive wants to change that narrative to say, hey, yeah, there are support service staff, customer service, that could come to you. So we do go to businesses and meet with them if they request for us to meet with them. Or we host business groups. And the goal in working with this committee is to make sure we amplify that, whereby businesses feel welcome, so we can feel the seats that are in this room, but they feel welcome in coming here at any time, talking to Bill Gates, Sophia, and all of us that are around the table, to ensure that we're able to help. So that's the contact, and that's really, in summary, the office. Now, the gateway to our office is the business portal, the Montgomery County Business Portal. And the business portal, again, is very easy. If you go to montgomerycounty.gov/biz, B-I-Z, that puts you right at the homepage of the Montgomery County Business Portal. And as you see, we have resources on how to start a business, resources on how to grow a business, resources how to manage. Again, we also have specific topics that, based on the requests that we get, and we put those topics in the forefront so businesses know exactly how to do it. So you need permits or license. What are the services or what are the products that you need to basically obtain a license for or permit for? Again, regulation and laws, like what laws and regulations that impact businesses in Montgomery County. As some of you may know, the county executive recently did a 4-business initiative, and now what is happening is that we're benchmarking those regulations and those laws. We're comparing it with other jurisdictions around, in our neighborhood, and see which ones are more onerous on our businesses and how do we change that, or how do we make it more easy for businesses not only to start here, but to grow or just continue to operate. And then we have starter kits. These are based on industries that have been reaching out to us. So these are some of the industries that have been reaching out to us almost on a daily basis. So food businesses, we get questions from food businesses, could be how to obtain a food safety handling license to, or we expanded, we need how do we obtain a new, in terms of occupancy permits for the new, the new space that we're going to go into. So we will then guide them in terms of making sure that they work with our permitting services to get a pre-design meeting, which is before you start breaking anything down, right? Can you go and sit with our folks and let your architect talk to them about what is it that you envision, and let them guide you in terms of the possibility of getting those permits, so that you don't start breaking things down all of a sudden. By the time you go there, they said, oh no, you can't do that, right? So to avoid those delays, right, that's why we always advise any business to do a pre-design consultation with our permitting services. Group homes. We have many group homes that are within the county, but also we have agencies that staff those group homes. Those agencies have to register with Health and Human Services Department, and they're regulated and also monitored to ensure that, again, a quality service is provided, because it could be in the group home, or it could be in many of our senior residents in their home, because many of them want to age in place. So those agencies have to register, ensuring that they're using licensed staff, also who are certified in terms of the healthcare certifications that they need, or licenses that they need before they could go into somebody's house to help them out. Restaurant, as we all know, we are in the restaurant capital of the universe, Silver Spring. Amazing restaurant. We just did a ribbon cut this afternoon with the Chamber of Commerce. There's a new restaurant that just opened up by the water fountain. So we get many questions about restaurant. It could be from the minimum wage. So I am responsible to communicate the laws of the county that impact businesses to all the 68,980 businesses within, again, our portfolio. So the reason why that is complex is because some restaurant employees do work straight shifts, so therefore, it's easy to calculate their minimum wage, which is, it's about to go up again, this July. But also, there are also employees that are tipped employees, so the tipped wage plus the tip have to equal to the minimum wage. Childcare. Childcare is a big one because there are various levels of care. So you have the childcare providers, and then you have those who are allowed to provide childcare from their homes as well, if it's less than 5. So there are regulations around that. We get questions around people who are looking to start childcare services within Montgomery County. That is also regulated by the Department of Health and Human Services. And of course, retail. Retail could be from occupancy permits. It could be to working with the retailer to schedule appointment with the utilities. I'm seeing that more frequently now in Silver Spring. Right? How do we get the utilities to come? Because we could have done everything, but before the retailer can go on, light has to be on, water has to run, things have to be in place before the final inspection. And usually there could be delays with the utilities. So part of our job is to make sure we work with those retailers to do that. All right. So I'm going to transition a little bit, but before I do, I don't know if there's any questions so far. Yes, go ahead.
So you mentioned about making sure that business owner have access to those resources, right?
Yes.
So I think sometimes having resource may not be enough. Like how to utilize them is important as much, because like if there are 600 resources, how are the business owner gonna know how to use that resource in the way that's gonna benefit them?
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And so we see this, it depends on in terms of the size of the business, right? So large businesses do have, in terms of staffing that could handle various aspects of the business, or they have consultants that they can bring in to work on certain things. But small businesses, we see that sometimes it's just a one-person shop, it's a two-person, 1.5-person shop. That's where we come in, because the goal is that not only we are informing you about the resources we have, but our goal is to say if you need, or to see if you need access to that information or access to that capital, then we will be able to connect you directly so that you don't have to navigate it yourself. And that's the role, that's our role, and that's the reason why the county executive wants us to come to the regional centers, to operate from the regional center, so that just like the way our residents can come and say, you know what, you're about to turn my light off, how do I get assistance for this? A small business owner can come in and say, oh my goodness, you know, I need to hire 5 more people, or I need to hire, so my job is to make sure I connect them to Workforce Montgomery, connect them in the sense that bring in unemployment experts who can basically run a quick employment fair, you know, at this building, and then gets that employer to come and walk and do interviews and get people to interview. That's what we do. So instead of them hiring a firm that can do that, which could cost them money, they could really come to us where we are able to help them put all of that together. That's a good question. All right, so I want to transition real quick to, because I want to leave some time for conversation. I want to talk about Business Connect. So Business Connect, again, it's a program of the county executive. And this is what I was talking about, that he wants us to be closer to the businesses, and therefore we are in the business, we're in the regional services center. So I'm going to give you one, if you can pass. So Business Connect has 3 main components. There are 3 elements that we do within Business Connect. The first one is counseling. Remember, I talked about the one-on-one session that we have with you know, folks who are looking to, you know, plan to start a business, and folks who are in the startup phase. This is done by us, you know, at some level, but also we have business resource partners as well. And those business resource partners, let me just go right there right now, so you can see who they are. So some of these partners we have are partners that help us do the one-on-one counseling. So for example, SCORE does one-on-one counseling. LEDC does one-on-one counseling. The Maryland Women Business Center does one-on-one counseling. SBDC does one-on-one counseling. So to give you an idea, at every phase of a business, whether you're in the planning phase or in the startup phase, you can set up an appointment to meet with either one of us in the business solutions group, or you can set up a meeting to meet with one of our business resource partners. And how you do that? Again, as I said, the business portal is the gateway to everything we do. So one of the things we've done is we've turned our calendar into a more dynamic, you know, a calendar feature instead of just a static calendar. So right here we've put in, if you go to, again, Montgomery County Meeting.gov/biz, we have a section that's called Training Workshops. If you click on that, that takes you to our calendar where anyone can have access to the classes or set appointment for the counseling sessions. So for example, if you see today, Monday, January 24th, there was a what? There's a counseling session up at Rockville, right? That was organized by SCORE. So SCORE, they are part of the SBA. These are retired professionals in very specific or sometimes general industries, and they come and mentor and also counsel either somebody who's planning to start a business or somebody who's already in business. And so they are really good because these are folks who are knowledgeable about not only the industry that you may be in, but more specifically, they know the resources that are also available within the industry in which you're in. So it could be, you know, in terms of, you know, industries that are available at the federal level, at the state level, but also at the local level. Right? So you see another one? Today at 8:30 a.m. there was a one-on-one counseling session offered by the Maryland Women Business Center. But that was offered on the Germantown. So you see that we're offering classes from the Oak County to Silver Spring to the East County, so throughout the county. So regardless of where a business is, you have access to the counseling session that are offered through Business Connect. And if you go down, you see there are online resources that are also available that you don't have to go anywhere. All this is accessible through your phone, or accessible through the computer at home. And you can look at those workshops, for example, small business loan application. Why are they asking me that, right? So why are they asking you to apply for a loan? When you go to the bank, or so that explains in terms of the application process of in terms of loans, and what is it that you need to get in order for you to prepare to apply for a loan. The second element of Business Connect is classes. So if you keep going down, you see that there are classes that are also available. And specific, so for example, you have legal requirement for small businesses, right? That's an online class that you can take absolutely for free. Everything we're talking about right now is free. Businesses don't pay anything for this at all, right? So you want to know what legal designation is good for you to register your business as, and why do you need to choose an S Corp as opposed to an LLC? Understanding legal requirements for small businesses could help you make that determination. As opposed to, you can go to someone that you can pay to help you navigate that. There's nothing wrong with that. But again, if you don't have the resources to pay, we will bring that to you based on the information, as I say, that we've provided on. All right? And then finally, the last component of Business Connect is the connection actually to county resources. So connection to county resources, let me talk about some of the connections to county resources. I'm going to start with the connection at the 100 level stage. So what we've done, we've put together a bunch of resources. You can take one and pass, please. We've put together a bunch of resources based on the referrals that we've been getting, but also based on what we're seeing that's in the planning phase. So what we realize that most of the calls that we get in the Business Solutions Group are either folks who are in the planning phase or the startup phase, or folks who are encountering difficulties, right? So those are they're already in business, but they're encountering difficulties. So what we've done, majority of the, I call them the 100 level, situations or cases, we've put those online. So if you go to the business portal, which is the gateway, you have those resources there that you can actually take some of those classes, but also through our library system. So if you have a Montgomery County Public Library card, you have over 800,000 classes, research information that is available at your fingertip. And I encourage anyone who is looking to start a business, if you're planning just to start a business, please go to the library website. If you have a public library card, it's available to you for free, and you don't have to pay anything. So it talks about why you need to plan to start a business. What are the elements you need to know before starting a business, right? What's the risk, that is involved in starting a business? Many times people don't realize the risks that are involved. If you have a spouse, is your spouse in agreement with you when you start a business, right? Because if you have a spouse that agrees with you, it's different from if you have a spouse that does not agree with you. And what are some of the challenges that you're going to face? Okay? It talks about the 3 F's, right? The family, friends, and fools, right? Who you're going to go to and ask for either to be your guinea pig, I don't know if that's a good word to use, right? When you're starting a business, or because they're the first people who may buy your product. If you're starting a bakery, or you start to bake, a baking company, there's a likelihood that the first people who will eat your cupcake, or the first people who will eat your cornbread might be your family member, right? But also when you need to access capital, the first people who you go to are what? Family, friends, and fools, right? Fools combines everybody. Because families will have you, they ask you, you ask them for money. So the idea is that the 100 level classes are available for free, and you can access them at any time at your convenience. And that's the good thing about this. So once you finish at the library, so this again is a list of many of the classes. But I want to highlight two of the recent programs. There's the Gale Demographics now. This is this one right here that we now it's available on the library website. This is a cool tool. Why? Because it does market analysis for you when you're in the planning phase of a business. So before you even start a business, it tells you about, in terms of the demographics that are within the geography that you're looking to start a business. But it also tells you in terms of, is your business model the right one within that demographics, right? An example would be, do you need to open up another coffee shop in Silver Spring? Or do you need to open up another Ethiopian restaurant in Silver Spring? I see some people are laughing, right? So, but those are questions that sometimes we see many people is after they've signed a lease to a space, they come and say, oh man, I didn't know that there were so many restaurants in the neighborhood. Now, you can still be successful because Silver Spring is just an amazing place. I mean, people go to many places, many restaurants. But the Gale Demographics now does that market research analysis for you for free, because not only it uses our local data, but also uses the census data as well. And as a result, it gives you a true market research, because it identifies some of your competitors as well. Another cool feature that it actually does is probes the data and actually comes up with a potential list of customers that you can pick up the phone and call and say, hey, I know you need my business. You know, how can I help you? Right? Because based on all the variables that you're plugging in, it gives you a list of businesses, or and also contact information for you to call if your model is business to business. So it's really a cool tool. And then the second one I want to highlight is the Small Business Builder. The Small Business Builder is also a good tool. Why? Because once you're transitioning from the planning phase of a business, in terms of looking at the viability of that business model that you are looking to get into, there's a likelihood that you would need to start, you need to develop a business plan. And if you're developing a business plan, you have a support system within the Gale Business Builder. So that's why I'm recommending that as well. All right, so I'm going to pause and see if there's any questions on the 100 level in terms of when you refer customers to me and they're just planning to start a business or they're in the startup phase. These are the resources that I give to them, including the resources that are available here on the portal. So I just want to make sure, so if you go to the resource category right here, these are some of the resources that I also provide to them as well. In terms of, let's see, there you go. So financial programs that we have, industry-specific support, sustainability, how to sustain in terms of the business within the industry in which you're in, tools and resources, and in terms of community resources that are available to these businesses as well. So any questions as I pause in terms of what I give to businesses at the 100 level? Any questions? Okay, seeing none, let me go to my final phase. If you can take one and pass, these are very specific programs that we have within the Office of Business Services. So I'll talk about two of them which falls within the access to capital range. And then the other one, which is again part of our program for businesses that are looking to transition from transition into an office space here in the county. Okay, so the county offers a microloan program. There are several programs that we offer, and we don't do the underwriting on these programs, but we find partners that are very competent in underwriting, but also running these programs. And these partners make it easy for us, but also make it easy for small businesses and entrepreneurs, because the lending criteria are not as stringent as your usual lending institution. So the first program I want to talk about is our program, a microloan program with Life Asset. So Life Asset is a nonprofit. They're located here in Silver Spring, and they manage a portfolio of businesses for the county in terms of businesses that need access to working capital. So these are at the very low end in terms of working capital. So we can talk about somebody who is in the exploration phase, so they need to build a prototype in order for them to start a business or start a product or build a product, and they don't necessarily have the capital in order for them to do that. Life Assets starts as low as $1,500, and they go all the way to $7,500. This again is just working capital that any small business or entrepreneur can have access to. In other words, access to capital should not be a barrier for you, right, if you're looking to start a business. We can go as low as $1,500. That's what they would offer you at very favorable terms and rates, because these are county taxpayer dollars that are being loaned out to entrepreneurs and small businesses. So what also they do, they provide technical assistance. They don't even give out the money like that, no. They ensure that you be part of a group. So I don't know if any of you are familiar with the Grameen Bank. Mohammed Yunus is, in terms of peer lending structure, that's basically what they use as well. So you're part of a group. If one person takes a loan, right, if that person does not pay back, it affects the credit worthiness of everybody in the group. So there's a peer lending model which allows everybody to pay back, and they've had a very high repayment rate as a result of that. Where many people will say, before they can graduate to $5,000, the person who just came in, who just got $1,500, need to make sure they are on time on their payments, but also make payments as well before somebody else can get access to a higher line of credit. So it's a combined line of credit. And the good thing is that they do the reporting, which helps those entrepreneurs either to build credit or to rebuild their credit. So that's a very good program. All right, so once you get to that level, so you can see that there's a progression as we go along. We go to LEDC. The Latino Economic Development Center is also one of the providers for our microloan program, but they start higher. They start from about $5,000, and they go, in fact, they've increased their capital now from $50,000, they can go all the way to $250,000 now. So I need to update this slide. So LEDC can go up to $250,000 in terms of working capital, in terms of loans towards equipment. So you find out that people who are looking to start, let's say, landscaping businesses, they will fall within the LEDC loan portfolio. So they also manage a portfolio of businesses that are accessing the county's microloan program. Now, LEDC, they do not necessarily have the peer lending model. They underwrite. They also provide technical assistance, but it's not as hands-on as the one that Life Assets provides. Because this one, you should have at least graduated, at least know exactly what you're doing, your business model. You should know that, okay, you have a proof of concept and that your product market fits within the demographics that you're looking to sell. So there's not much of a hand-holding, too much of it here, because they really want you to do your business. You are a business person. And so they expect that responsibility to be on you as well. So, but they again, give you that latitude to go as high as $250,000. All right? So these are the two. The third one I'll talk about is our, there's a third program we have that's within the local community banks. So these are banks that are headquarters here in Montgomery County. It's called the Montgomery County Business Plus program. The Business Plus program, basically, the county have deposited money into local community banks that are headquarters in Montgomery County. We've deposited up to $50 million, and it's a matching program, and those banks agreed to match the same amount. So there's a total of $100 million that also that is available for lending locally to small businesses. Some of the banks, Eagle Bank, and I have a list of them which I'll share to you as well, so you know who those banks are. So any question about the loan programs or the lending programs that the county has? That's good. Right, so is either you're understanding me or you're not understanding me at all? Okay, that's it. All right, so finally I want to talk about, these are businesses now that are looking to move into office spaces. Right, so if you're looking to move into a new office space in Montgomery County, we have the MOVE program. And the MOVE program, as you can see, basically offers discount in terms of square footage when it comes to Class A occupancies in terms of office spaces in the county. So again, you have to be you receive $8 per square footage incentive for Class A and B space here in the county, office space that's free to move into. $8 per square foot incentive. That is huge, right? So we all know how it's pricey, right? Anywhere in Montgomery County, and for you to be able to receive a check, it's actually a check that we will send to you when you qualify, when you apply and you qualify for this program. And work very closely with many of the property management companies, but also realtors that are in the county as well. So we really encourage everyone, if you know a business that's looking to move into the county, or a business that is already in the county but wants to move into an office space, they can also apply as well.
It's only an office space for like retail?
No, office space, not retail. That's right. So it's an office space, Class A and Class B office space.
What's the Class A and what's the Class B?
So those are like you're in the property management. Yeah.
Class A is probably the high end. You probably have a building that has a lobby, a directory, and central lobby, and the entire building, all floors are dedicated to office space. Class B is something that you find that might be something in mixed use, or a lot of second floor locations in downtown Silver Spring. So these are buildings that are typically been built in the 1950s. And so they have a first floor, but then they have a second floor that's available. Or it might be a single standing home that's been converted as office space.
So see, that's the amazing resource that we have, and that's why I want people to come to not only this meeting, but the next meetings that we're having, because the idea is that we want to be able to provide that information to everyone as well. So thank you so much. All right, does that answer your question?
Yes.
All right. All right, so that being said, I'm going to be quiet and see if there's any questions. So let's have a dialogue around what is your vision, right? And what support services do you think we need to incorporate into, because we have a brand new office, so that's the good thing about this, right? So part of me being here is not only to be part of this, is to get feedback and say, okay, hey Daniel, this is not working. Hey Daniel, we think this may work. We've just put together our small business strategy, which I'll share with everyone, so that in our next meeting, if there's any question, I'll be here as a resource person, but we will discuss in terms of, what is it that how do we want these meetings to be, to go on? I mean, what panels do we want to have? Who do we want to invite to come to these meetings, right? Because I really want to make sure that this is worthwhile for all of us, especially our board members. So I really want to get your feedback on it and then see how we can go on from there. So you don't have to raise your hand, I'm going to point on everybody to give you feedback. All right, Jay, go ahead.
Well, I'm sort of here on the outside looking in for one nonprofit and one small business. I'm just trying to find each of the different types of resources. One is a local restaurant that I definitely want to do everything I can to help the owner with. And the other is Docs in Progress, which is a small nonprofit that the county has been very generous to and given us space at a very significantly reduced lease. But we have to do some things too.
Okay, well, thank you for that.
Nothing specific.
No, that's okay. And by the way, so nonprofits, we consider them as small businesses as well, right? So I always tell people that if you do payroll, you're a small business. And so nonprofits do hire people and do payroll. So therefore, we consider them as small business as well. So yes, sir.
We are a property management company. We do a lot of retail leasing also for the landlords. And what we find is a lot of time people who will see a banner for a space, the first instinct is to go and to find a place to lease and to sign the lease. And we've been referring them first to go to Montgomery County Permitting Services, because opening up a business isn't simply as signing a lease and then start paying rent. There's a lot of education that needs to be done in terms of use and occupancy. A lot of first-time business owners are a little bit confused about that. What the requirements are, why are the requirements there, what it takes to open up a business. A lot of times they're taken back by the fact that they have to have drawings for a space, even though it's something that's simple and straightforward. Understanding different types of leases. Most of them think that it's all-inclusive and like and maybe an apartment lease where you pay one rent and everything's covered. They're not familiar with double net or triple net leases and how that pans out, so they can put it into a business model for themselves. So it's nice to have a resource where we can point them that before you rush to sign the lease, you need to go here so you can get a more broad spectrum of what it encompasses opening up a business in Montgomery County.
And thank you so much, because that's been so invaluable in terms of, as you say, just ensuring people know what it takes, but more importantly, what it requires and how it would require them to change the business model that they have, and maybe sometimes go back and save some more money, right? In order for them to come in and start a business or test the market somewhere else. When I say somewhere else, in terms of another space that they can look at that is more favorable before coming to your space. So that's been very invaluable in terms of what you do. Thank you. Yes.
So basically what he said
Sure.
is the same thing, but the information you gave us today will help us with our clients coming in, looking to lease out a space. And, we always tell them where they should go to the county, but there's more resources that we can directly point them to.
Well, thank you so much.
So that's a big help.
Thank you. All right, and yes, sir, your feedback.
I think this is great information. I just you need to just find a way where you can spread it out more so more people can know about this information. And as being on the board, that's going to be something we will discuss, how to share this information out to the community so they can be aware of all the advantages.
Okay. Sounds good. Yes, Ms. Sophia.
Okay, so I was actually reading online about this for business initiative
Yes.
benchmark to be the best for business. So
Mhm.
there are some key identified issues.
Yes.
And I think if we invite more business owners
Okay.
and update them the things that we are doing to alleviate those issues,
Sure.
could be significant.
Yeah, so that's a good point. The idea is that, so for some of you who may not be aware, the county executive did a listening tour with the county council president, Sidney Katz. They did listening tours throughout the county in terms of listening to businesses, in terms of what are some of the challenges they were facing that impeded their business practices or even growth or expansion here in the county. And so based on the feedback, what has happened is that there are, and currently we're working on that. The departments that are working on ensuring that we benchmark our regulation based on what is being done in the region, so that, as our county executive will say, we don't want to make it difficult for people to do business in Montgomery County when they could do business somewhere else easier. The goal is that we should be as bad as everybody else or be better, right? So the goal, and that's the goal, is really for us to be better. And so I agree with you that what we can do is possibly schedule a meeting, and what I would do is I'd invite, because the big shift that has taken place so far is our procurement department. Many people were having challenges doing business with the county. And so I can schedule a meeting for us to have somebody from the procurement department to attend this meeting, where we then give an update in terms of what has been taking place in the last 3 months since that. Yeah, because their contract that have been shrunk down to 30 pages. That used to be 200 pages. There are procurement open houses that are taking place every month now, the third Wednesday of every month, with no RSVP required. So you go in there, you meet all the contract managers, you meet all, so you basically, the people who are decision makers, you get to meet them now, as opposed to who you know, right? So these are like, systemic changes that have taken place immediately. And it'll be good for somebody to come in and give an update on that, right? So, and then the other, DPS is our big one, right? And there are changes taking place there as well, but we're not there yet to go prime time, because some of them may require some legislative changes, and even in procurement, there's one legislative change that has to be put aside for a minute, but hopefully that will come up. It's a preference legislation. Like, we saw that in some areas we were very generous when it comes to, and we were not even protecting our own businesses within the county. Other jurisdiction will have preference points for local businesses. So in other words, if you are a local business, you get more points, which gives you the advantage for you to, win the contract. And we didn't have that. So the county executive was like, well, this is something that our businesses want, then we need to make sure we do it as well, right? So that is going into play now, where the county council is going to look at that to see how, if you are a local Montgomery County business, our county executive say, listen, we don't mind, we'll spend more, because that money stays local, and you'll get 10 preference points, which means that you will be ahead of many of the other businesses that are not local Montgomery County businesses. So that's something that you should be on the lookout for as well. But I agree with you. Then, so we'll go through those benchmarking one at a time, those pain points that businesses said they had, and I can invite folks from the departments to come, and we'll talk about updates that are going on. Not all the updates, because some of them, as I say, does require legislative changes, so we can't really talk about that until the county council takes up that and they deliberate it and then pass it. But those that we can do administratively and that the county executive has done, we can talk about those. Yes, Mr. Mooney.
So already you covered it.
I've covered, all right. All right, so another thing we need to do is recognize businesses. I talked about there are certain days, right, like Small Business Week, Small Business Saturday, Women's, Entrepreneurship Month. There you have all these days that are on the calendar. It will be good for us to see, right, discuss which ones we would like to host. Like next month is what, Women's?
March 8th.
March 8th.
March 11th?
No, March 8th is Women's Day.
Okay, Women's Day is March 8th, but the meeting is when?
Our meeting, which meeting?
This meeting.
The CED is
Monday.
on, not the second, the third Monday.
Third Monday.
All right, so it'd be good for us to discuss it and see what we would like to do at the next meeting. Maybe it'd be good for us to have maybe some of the women in the community who are entrepreneurs, who are small business owners, for them to come and talk and tell us about their experience in starting a business here in Montgomery County. That way, not only we're getting there, listen, I haven't met a business person who doesn't like talking about their business, right? Sure. And so the idea that will give them a platform for them to do that, but more importantly, we'll get other people who may want to know about the history of how a woman can start a business. What's the challenges that women face in starting a business here in Montgomery County? That could be a good topic that we can discuss as well. So we'll discuss more. As I say, just look at me as a resource, and my goal will be to bring in these folks who will come in, and so that we can increase not only participation, but we can increase the word going out to the community as well. All right. Lastly, any other? I see we have 5 minutes. Go ahead.
Our meeting is going to be on the 23rd of March.
So the 27th of March?
23rd.
Or 23rd?
Yeah.
Okay. So, I think we can we pull that off? We have about a month to get maybe 2 women, right?
Yeah.
1 woman of color and 1,
Why not 4?
Woman is not-
Make it 4.
Huh?
Let's
I
make
said
it 4.
make it 4.
Make it 4?
Yeah. One from Latino.
If we have 4 panelists and each talk
know.
for 10 minutes, that's 40 minutes.
Yeah.
It's okay. That's not bad.
Right? Yeah?
That's not bad.
Yeah, so if we have 4 each talk for 10 minutes, that's 40 minutes. Then we don't have any time for questions and
Yeah,
answers.
I hear you.
Yeah, so we can do 2.
Sure.
That doesn't mean this is the only time we recognize women, by the way. So, there are other topics that women are involved in business in every type of business in Montgomery County. But the idea would be this will be a focus because of the Women's Month, right?
Yeah.
You guys think that's a good idea? All right. So if you have suggestions, what we can do, I can work with. We can send them an official invitation and get them to come, and probably I don't know. By the way, since we're looking for 2 women, can we volunteer the 2 women that are in the room? Is that possible? You're a businesswoman. You're a business.
Well,
So we just need to advertise it, basically. You can talk about women in the in the property management field.
Don't.
No, actually, we were talking that there are some tenants who, they've already opened businesses, but they are women.
Okay.
And they're new businesses, so
Okay.
we can invite them to come and
Perfect.
speak if they would.
Yeah.
Perfect.
We can select 2 women from
Team
any.
management. Well,
maybe by the business type or.
Yeah, so I would say definitely 1 retailer. So we need.
I mean, if you're talking,
Leasing
well,
of properties.
nonprofits, most of the art nonprofits in Silver Spring are run by women.
Yeah,
Oh,
So
really?
there's
Okay.
lots of women doing.
that's correct. But it would be good for us to have like a woman in the retail industry, and then maybe look at
nonprofit.
maybe in the arts
I
industry.
can ask her if she'd like to.
Please.
I'll see her tomorrow.
Okay.
Please, yeah.
Yeah, I can also ask 1 woman.
There you
in
go.
insurance business.
All right.
Yeah, it's a nonprofit.
What's the date that you're looking?
The 23rd of March.
Yeah.
And then what we'll do is that we'll develop a flyer and send it out. So who's going to work with me on this? It's Sophia's idea, and Daniel and Mulgita. Okay, so we'll work on that, and then we'll get the word out. Now, is there a sign-in sheet going around? We want to make sure that you sign in so that we can send you that flyer when it's prepared, so we can get the word
That
out.
was his idea.
Hmm?
Daniel's idea.
It was Daniel's idea?
One. Yeah.
There you go. All right, any final words? We have 2 more minutes, and I want to make sure I can wrap up real quick. All right, go ahead, Mulgita. Any final words from the board members?
No, I think it's a good idea. I mean, I really liked it, the way you have organized it, We're almost, in the middle of nowhere what we can do, for the last year because of certain circumstances. Anyway, it's good for us, giving us a guideline and also leading it. So I would appreciate that.
Sure, no problem. Thank you. Board Lady Sophia, any final words?
Final words. I think it's just a good start, and I do believe we can do more. For me, I can speak for me as a new member. I guess when you are more knowledgeable about what's going on in the county, you can bring more to the table. So, and I guess that takes time. So I do say it's a good start. And I look forward to more.
Likewise.
Yeah.
Daniel, any other
Like I said, I just feel like we have to find a way to spread this message out to the community.
Sure.
So they can know, so we can get more participation.
Okay.
And you gotta find a way to do that.
Sounds good. All right, well, thank you everyone for coming. And please, you can network. And as I say, I look forward to seeing everyone next month. And please send me the names of the people who you would like for us to invite to be on the panel. So we're looking for
2 people.
two people. Yeah, I think Jay has one
Bill, I'm
already.
gonna ask, I don't know.
We
I'm
know
also
enough
one in-
Perfect.
where we can cover both
Perfect.
categories.
Yeah, so send me the names, and if you have maybe a
We just need
bio
to see
about
it.
them as well, just send them to me, and we'll make sure we invite them.
Sure.
All right, thank you everyone again.
Okay,
Thank you.
so much.